The floor of your house is not just for walking on, it's also a structural component that keeps everything above it in place. From the joists to the subfloor and all the nails and brackets used to hold it up, there are many things that can go wrong with your floors over time. But what about when it's not the floor itself, but something beneath it that causes problems? Welcome back, everyone. I'm here. Today I'll be exploring what lurks beneath the floorboards. I've always had a healthy respect for what lies beneath my feet. As a kid growing up in a two-story home, I was well aware that the floor was my only defense between me and the concrete below. And since I never felt like taking that particular risk, I was always curious about what might be down there. Of course, there were no trapdoors to a basement or crawl space, so I never got my wish to find out. But after becoming an adult and getting a bit braver, I finally got the chance to explore the underbelly of my house. While every house is different, most will have at least some areas that are accessible once you get underneath them. In my case, the front entryway leads to a mudroom, which has a closet. And when I opened the door to that closet, I saw this wooden panel with a hole in the middle. And that hole was my gateway to the unknown, or at least it would have been if I wasn't too afraid to fall through it. But thankfully, my wife wasn't nearly as scared as I was, so she volunteered to go first. And as she descended into the darkness below, she discovered a few things right away. First, there was a lot of dust and cobwebs, so clearly this area hadn't been visited in a while. Second, the narrow, cramped space had very little room to move around. And third, the reason why the hole had a cover was because the stairs leading down were pretty precarious. They were made from mismatched pieces of wood and held together with only a few nails. But with nothing better to work with, they did the job. Eventually, my wife reached the bottom where she found that the floor of this underground space was actually dirt. The whole thing was just a hole dug out by some animals, like a small animal den. Didn't see any critters, but we did see their droppings. So we knew we weren't alone down there. To be honest though, we were pretty relieved. If there had been something more sinister down there, we would have much preferred not to know. Of course, this little adventure got us thinking about what else could be lurking beneath our floorboards. And as it turns out, there's a wide range of possibilities. For example, you may find creepy crawlies in other parts of your house. But rest assured, knowing they're not inside your walls, that is unless you have termites. These insects typically enter a home through wooden structures that are in contact with the ground, such as sills, piers, and crawlspace supports. Once inside, they'll start chewing on the wood, which can eventually lead to the collapse of your home's structure. That sounds pretty bad, but luckily there's a pretty simple way to prevent it. Just make sure that all wood is off the ground by elevating it with concrete piers. And if you already have termites, you should call an exterminator immediately. Otherwise, you may need to repair the damage left behind by these hungry pests. But don't worry, termite damage is typically covered by homeowners' insurance policies. Just make sure you have enough coverage. And speaking of insurance, your policy will also protect you against another common flooring hazard, fire. Whether caused by faulty wiring, a carelessly discarded cigarette, or some other accident, fires can break out anywhere in your home. But while they were usually most dangerous in rooms with lots of combustible materials like the kitchen or living room, they can also spread to your floors. It's because hardwood floors often have multiple layers of plywood, each one coated with a layer of paint, stain, or varnish. All those chemicals are toxic and release harmful fumes when burned. Even worse, the heat from a fire can warp and buckle hardwood floors, making them unusable even after the flames are put out. This means that not only can fires cause serious health problems for anyone nearby, but they can also destroy your property. But if you have renters or homeowners insurance, then you won't have to worry about paying for the repairs yourself. Just make sure to take photos of the damage before discarding anything. Your insurance company may want to assess the damage themselves to determine how much you should receive. But what happens when there's no disaster? What about when your floor just gets old? Over time, it can become discolored or stained, especially if it hasn't been properly sealed. No. And if you want to do more than just cover up the damage, refinishing your floors can restore their original beauty. While it's possible to hire someone to do this for you, it's also a DIY-friendly project. You can sand down the top layer of the floor and restain it, or simply apply a new polyurethane coating. However, if your floor is made from hardwood, then you'll need to take a slightly different approach. You'll still need to clean and sand the surface, but then you'll need to apply several coats of oil-based stain. Once that's done, You can add polyurethane to protect the wood from future damage. The process may take some time, but it's worth it if you want your floors to look brand new. But what if your floors aren't made from wood? Well, believe it or not, there are plenty of alternative flooring materials on the market. One popular choice is tile, which is made from ceramic or porcelain and comes in a wide variety of colors, shapes, and sizes. Not only does tile look great, but it's also very durable. Unlike hardwood floors, tile doesn't scratch easily and it's resistant to moisture, mildew, and allergens. As a result, it's ideal for use in kitchens, bathrooms, and entryways. Plus, if you ever spill something on the floor, it's easy to clean up without leaving a stain behind. However, tile can crack, and if it's installed incorrectly, it may not lay flat. But with proper care, tile floors can last for decades. In fact, if you live in an older home, you may have original tile floors that are still going strong. But if you're worried about the condition of your floors, you can always call a professional for a flooring inspection. They'll be able to tell you if your floors are in good shape or if they need to be replaced. And if you do need to replace your floors, there are a lot of options to choose from. You could stick with tile or try something different like laminate, vinyl, or engineered wood. No matter what you choose, your new floors are sure to be a breath of fresh air. Just make sure to take good care of them so they last as long as possible. It's important to be vigilant when it comes to your floors because they play an important role in keeping you safe. Not only do they hold up furniture and appliances, but they also distribute your weight throughout the rest of the house. That's why it's so dangerous to walk on joists or beams, and why you should never cut floorboards without consulting a structural engineer. If you remove too many boards, it could weaken the floor and put you at risk of falling through. But even if you're careful, accidents can happen. If a floorboard breaks, you could fall and get seriously injured. That's why it's important to check your floors regularly for signs of wear and tear. Look for loose nails, squeaks, or any other warning signs so you can get them fixed right away. With a little maintenance, you can keep your floors in good condition for years to come. As you can see, there are all sorts of things that can go wrong with your floors. From pests to old age and accidents, it seems like there's nothing that can't go wrong with your floors. But don't worry, just take good care of them, and they'll take good care of you. But now, I want to hear from you. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to your floors? Let me know in the comments below. While you're there, be sure to like and subscribe for more great content. And with that said, I'll see you next time.